Okay, hi guys, this is Hacker Addict back again with another video on the Linux file structure. Okay, so if you want to be a successful penetration tester, you need to know the basics about the Linux file structure. This will become familiar to you the more you use it. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. So the Linux file system is known as everything is a file. It treats it that way. So if you think of this on the left, this is how it's all laid out. So all these here are folders, and within these folders we have obviously subfolders and call them directories, subdirectories, and files that are attributed to their various folders. So if you go through each one, so we start off at the root directory, so that's a / that is denoted by /. So that is the very top level of the file system. So if we go into the terminal down here and we say cd /, I am known at the very top of the file system structure now. From ls, we'll see all these different various name of the folders in the folder. We change this as well. Go to top layer. Here we go. This might be easy to see here. Okay, first we'll have bin. This contains instructions or binaries for your commands. So if I was to do ls down here, list, this is essentially calling the list function here from this folder, and it executes the binary, and then you have the result down here. There's a similar folder called sbin that is located just here. Sbin contains executable commands that are reserved for root. So consider this to be user level, consider this to be root level, so administrator, person with special privileges for the file system. Then we move on to so the boot folder. The boot folder contains runtime information or boot information for when the system starts up. So this is kind of the area you don't really want to be messing about with. Otherwise, end up installing a new version of Kali Linux that doesn't have your improvements within that folder. So their folder holds information about devices that are on the hardware devices that are found on the system. So if we look for the SDA here, you'll see my hard drives that are attached. SDA, yeah, SDAs right there. And then we can move on to the next folder, which is the etc folder or etc folder, as confirmed by Dennis Ritchie. This contains system-wide configuration files for Kali Linux. Files to note within this folder as a penetration tester are the password file or passwd file, which contains a list of users for the file system, not passwords. The passwords file within this system are contained in a shadow file, which can usually only be accessed by root, or should be only accessed by root. These contains hashes of the passwords for the file system and the users that have access to this on the file system. It also has the sudo file, which contains a list of users who have super user privileges. So that's definitely something to note as a penetration tester. Then we have the home directory. These are for users on the file system. So in here we have a Kali, which is the default user. And if you go in here, it is essentially the Kali user's work area. Think of it as that. So next we have the libraries. These libraries contain information that applications on Kali Linux need to perform. So applications within bin will need the libraries in order to function. You'll see Python will also need this to function, and other various applications for on the Kali Linux file system, on the structure system. So that brings us on to media and mount. So media is where you'll find your USB sticks, your CD ROMs, whatever. This is a place where the file system, or not file system, Kali Linux will automatically put these things into this folder for you to use. And mount is essentially the same thing as media, but it's done manually. So you can manually mount an external drive, and you can have a file system or a network drive located within mount. OPT is where third-party applications are installed. So if you install something such as Burp Suite, usually it's put in there, but I have found it before where it's ended up in here for some reason. But yeah, it has been in there as well. Proc, this is running processes on the system. Again, don't mess with that, you'll be upset. The root, so this folder here, root, this is the root user area. So where we had home Kali, this is essentially the root admin's area, work area. So the reason why this exists is because what can happen is external, home, external users can have access to this file system, and it can be located here. But if you have a root folder, then it ensures root always has access to this system, or there is a user always able to access the system. This is the run folder. This is for volatile data. So data in here will be lost when the system is powered off. It is used in RAM. RAM stands for random access memory. RAM is considered volatile data. Volatile essentially means when a system is turned off, or when a system loses its charge, it loses its data. SRV, this is an area for servers to hold their data. So for instance, if I have a trivial file transfer protocol server running, I'll put the files in here, and anyone looking for access to can access the files from this folder over the network. This here interacts with the kernel, and again, you don't be messing around with that. Here's the temp folder. This folder stores again. It's a little bit like RAM, but it doesn't behave the same as RAM. As soon as the file system is turned off, all the data in here will be lost. Now you see these X's here. Now if I want to remove those, because I think it's to do with the file system doesn't have permission in order to delete them, root has to do it, so these files have to be removed automatically. But if I was to create a file in here, it would be lost on reboot. Then next we move on to the Unix system resource folder. So non-essential programs are installed in here to keep them separate from the main file system. Then lastly we have the variable folder. So files in here are expected to grow over time. So here we have mail. So if you had a mail server set up, you could expect this to grow over time. Same with the logs. So you had server logs in here. You can expect these file systems to grow over time. So that's why it's called the variable folder. Okay, so that concludes the overview of the Kali Linux file system structure.